So now to understand exactly how this drug testing program works, we want to turn to an Olympian who's had to do it for 16 years. Reid Coolsaet is a Canadian marathoner who competed in the 2012 London Summer Olympics and the 2016 Rio Summer Olympics. He joins us now from Hamilton, Ontario. Thank you for making time for us today.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
First I want to ask you, how much you have had a chance to hear of the interview with Penny Oleksiak. What do you make of what she has to say about all of this?
It's really interesting. Luckily, I've never missed a test, but I know some of my friends who have, and it can happen, right? Like, you have a busy life and these things can happen. And, her situation with having her second and third missed test, I read in the article, like, close together, makes it a bit more complicated, just logistically. But, it's a real shame. I don't think Penny, there's no reason to believe that she used performance-enhancing drugs, but at the same time, we all have to play by the same rules.
Okay, so to that end, for our viewers, so we can get a clear picture of what those rules are, can you break down for us how the World Anti-Doping Agency's drug testing program works?
Yeah, the most important thing is that you have to say where you're going to be for 1 hour every day. And you pick that hour, the time and the place. So for most athletes, they just say 6 to 7 o'clock in the morning, if they don't have training sessions then, and at their house, right? So you're good chances you're going to be there. If you know you're not going to be there, you would pick somewhere else and somewhere where you just know you're going to be 1 hour a day, and you can add other information like where you normally train, what you normally do in that as well. But it's really just that 1 hour a day you have to make sure you're available for drug testing.
Okay, so you were saying that you can add some additional information, i.e. where you train, etc., stuff like that. So if someone shows up to your house, you say you're going to be there from 6 to 7 in the morning, you're not, but you've provided information about where you train, are they going to go there next? Or does that mean they rang the doorbell, no answer, that's done?
Yeah, I think they usually would try to track you down. I remember one time somebody came in my hour and I was walking back to my house and I actually got a call. They asked me where I was and I was like, I'm just down the street, and I got there in time, and that was fine. Other times too, if they come to your house outside of the 1 hour and you're not there, that doesn't count as a missed drug test. It only counts if they show up in that 1 hour you're supposed to be there. And they do try to find you, but if you're unavailable, then that would likely count unless you have a really good excuse.
And what does the testing entail specifically when they come that 6 to 7, let's say in the morning, since that was the time that you suggested is what a majority of athletes suggest? They show up, what happens?
Yeah, so they show up, they present their ID. After a few years, you end up knowing them pretty well. The CCS agents would know my kids' names and stuff like that. And yeah, you provide a urine test and a blood test. So if it's, if the DCO is not the same gender as you, they might bring a chaperone because they have to watch you go pee in a bottle unobstructed to make sure it's your own pee. And then they bring a nurse as well to do a blood test as well. So they do urine and blood.
Okay, and now you had mentioned that this is something that you've done for 16 years. You say you've never missed a test, but you have friends who have. How complicated is it to abide by these sort of very strict rules and making sure that your whereabouts is known as much as is required?
Honestly, I think it's pretty easy these days. In 2005, when I was first in the testing pool with doing my whereabouts, I didn't have a smartphone. There wasn't an app. I would be in Europe somewhere and I would have to find an internet cafe and update it. And now with the app, you get constant reminders if you haven't updated your 90-day period before you enter it, and you can just switch your location on the fly. You're supposed to do it 24 hours in advance, but if something comes up last minute, you can always change that 1 hour. So in this day and age, I think it's quite easy to do. And yeah, the athletes who miss one test, it can happen, right? Like, he might just, if it's a day like this and there's a snowstorm that's going to come and you decide, I don't want to wait till 4 o'clock to run, I'm going to do my run in the morning, and that happens to be the day they come by, you miss a test. You just become very vigilant after that missed test. So my friends who had missed one test, for the next 12 months, they were just on it. You never want to be sitting there with two tests, because then once that third one happens in 12 months, then there's consequences.
Yes, and certainly we've seen the consequences when it comes to Penny Oleksiak here. So in terms of the wider implications of this now, we know that, for example, she's training in public pools. There's a lot of other implications that come with this suspension. Where do you go from here? How challenging can it be to get back into competition?
Yeah, interestingly, for an individual sport, it's actually a lot easier, right? If you get if you're banned from a team sport and you can't practice with a team, that's huge. Whereas, swimming, for running, for me, you can still make a lot of progress without your coaches and without your teammates. It's not the same. You never picked it. It's not ideal, but they're not impossible circumstances to overcome.
Reid, I want to thank you so much for shedding some light on all of this for us.
Yeah, no worries.
That is Reid Coolsaet. He is a two-time Olympian, and we reached him today in Hamilton, Ontario. Thanks again.